I was born in Zomba, which was the capital of Nyasaland, in 1934. So at the early age of 6, I was sent to boarding school in southern Rhodesia, where I was until I finished my secondary education, and returned to Malawi in 1950. I remember at school I became a Boy Scout. I in fact led the Scout movement in the last 2 years of my secondary school, and that made me get a feel of working with the community. And I wasn't surprised that I ended up in politics, because as a community worker I developed styles and systems. By this time, when multi-party politics were being talked about, these were all happening underground. In 1963, Malawi became a self-governing country, and for the next 30 years changes took place. From a democratic country which was elected in 1964, we saw that it became throughout the years a dictatorial country with strong, stern leadership. You could do this and you couldn't do the other. And any opposition was not looked upon favorably. In fact, it became so drastic that people were detained, people were arrested, businesses were forfeited, and the country became really an empire led by one person and benefited by maybe 3 or 4 others in a family. With time, that did not go down well. It was indicated that later on we had used our good offices of the chamber to become business people and to form the United Democratic Front. Be that as it may, we started agitating, first underground. People were arrested, sent away. We agitated, we called for friends outside to help us. And it became clear that something had to be done in this country. What we came up with was a new constitution. This new constitution made us become very mindful of where we have come from and where we want to be. And one predominant issue was that we knew that we did not want to repeat what had been taking place in the last 30 years under the Malawi Congress Party. So the constitution that was rewritten was really to cover, to make sure that no leader, no party will take us back to where we were before. And with that, of course, we exposed ourselves by not tying up certain other points, which we discovered later on that the Constitution stopped us from doing this, but it opened itself out to various other issues, so that our Constitution, like the Constitution of any country, is a moving Constitution. We have to keep changing it. And this, in some cases, did not go down very well in people's minds. Why are you changing that book? Why are you changing written laws? Those written laws are there. But if you're going to live on a constitution like what we had, and especially the type of government which we had, then changes must come up. Because obviously everybody thought now there will be no restriction. That Spartan type of rules which had existed in Malawi are going to be opened. There will be freedoms There will be no restrictions to the press, to anybody having any type of business. People were free to live their lives. Now, what struck me as impressive is the way we Malawians overnight assumed and grappled with independence, almost overnight. The transitional period was so smooth. It's as if we had been practicing a democratic type of government for years. It wasn't anything strange. But to nurture it, that was the thing, because then everybody felt that, yes, I'm independent, we have freedom, the Freedom Charter, the rules have changed, now everybody's free to do what they want, say what they want, the press could do this, they could do the other, not realizing in some cases that your freedom and your utterances, which you're free to utter, should not impinge on the next person. And there were these sort of teething problems which came out. When multi-party came up, the Cold War was coming to an end. Everybody was talking the same language. Malawi's blue-eyed status began to fade away, and Malawi then had to stand on its own. And that is the time when the changes were taking place. These are the realities. Look at the basket of currencies. At the time this was happening, I think Malawi was holding a conversion rate of 2 kwacha to a pound. In some cases, Malawian kwacha was stronger than the rand. Now, these were all artificial make-ups. But when the reality came out, we know where we are finding ourselves now. The true basket, we were not pegged to any individual country, currency. We had to stand on our own. And in that basket today, there's 240 Malawi kwacha or something to that effect to the pound. 130 Malawi kwacha to the US dollar. So the realities have come with multi-party systems. But those are the prices one has to pay. You cannot have everything your own way. If you want to have those things, then you have to pay for it. And these are the prices you have to pay to develop your economy. I said earlier on that it's amazing how Malawi developed the democratic system as if we had been democratic all the time. But if we looked at what our inheritance was at independence and at democratization of this country, you will find that there was no settler work other than tea estates and tobaccos, which the colonial masters had left for us. There was nothing. We didn't have an economic position. We were just struggling along, and that is what our biggest problem has been. Instead of working hard towards developing our nation, we became experts, and we are still trying to be experts at becoming political rather than developmental minded. We are more political minded, fighting inter-party, and this unfortunately is not what it should be.